Okay, you've got one of these Saftey Can Express easy can openers that doesn't really work anymore. Still, motor runs, everything turns, it just is leaving metal shards on the can, leaving the little indentions from the gripper wheel. You can't pull the lid off. Kind of a simple fix, really, before you throw them away. Of course, they are kind of cheap. 4 screws in the back. 1, 2, 3, 4. Take 4 screws out. Why won't that one come out? There we go. Now, on the bottom, it's just a plate. Just pops right off. Got all these little tabs. Go in these little slots, pops right off. So after you take the 4 screws off, the back not necessarily comes off, this front piece comes off. There we go. There's the front piece. And there you have this. There are 4 screws here. And if you notice, see if I can get you to see that. When you push that down, the little wheel with the teeth on it are supposed to pull that close. And if you can see, you can't really see, but there's a gap. Hard for you to see. There's a gap between there. This wheel should be touching that wheel, just barely touching it. Easy way to solve that. Oops. Take out your 4 screws here. This will come off the front. Once you take that last screw off, you can feel it starting to pull away. I think these screws are the same as the screws you took out of the back. Okay, once you get those 4 screws out, this whole top piece will pop off. As you can see, it's still connected wires. You don't have to disconnect the wires. But on the back, see this jam nut right here. That's the trickiest part, because very few people have a wrench that skinny for those nuts. But you loosen those nuts and you can tighten them down. When you tighten them down, it pulls this little gear closer to the cutter wheel. So that's what we're going to try to do now. If I can find my little wrench. Actually going to use a little tiny crescent wrench. And this is the only thing I can find really handy to hold the bottom nut. Use this to loosen the top nut. Okay, you've actually got the 2 nuts separated, so you can tighten up the bottom nut. And in the process of tightening up the bottom nut, when you push this down, it will actually pull the cutter wheel closer to the wheel with the splines on it that actually give it some grip. So that's what you've got to do there. And it's not much. It only takes just a slight turn to get it to do that. Which, if you can, it's hard for you to see. When I close it now, the cutter wheel, there's no gap. The cutter wheel is actually right against that, which is the way it needs to be. So once you do that, you can tighten your jam nut back up, but I actually see that it's actually turning this wheel as well, so I'm going to need a pair of pliers. The jam nut. There we go. Now, double check it. Yep. There is no gap. It is pushed right up against the cutter wheels, against the drive wheel with the teeth on it. So, the only other thing that's a little bit difficult putting back together, you've got to get this tip into that hole. That's its guide. So it's a little tricky, but it's not that hard. Well, I can't see it now. I need a little light. It's in there, so it went right where it needed to go. But you've also got to get it lined up with everything, with all the screw holes. There we go. Make sure everything is lined up properly, and just put your screws back. Don't tighten them all up when you put them in. Get them all in and started, and snug them up, and then once you get them snug, make sure your cutter wheel and lever is all working properly. Then you can tighten them all down. There we go. And you don't want to over tighten them. Get them snug. Now, make sure your handle still goes up and down, which mine is not for some reason. I don't know what I did. I got it out of its joint before I tightened them up. Dang it. Uh-oh, I didn't get something in there right. I think I missed. Yep, it's out of its guide. How did I do that? I got it out of its guide. Okay. Got to pull it back off. So you got to keep it in that guide plate, that guide hole, where it won't work. Okay, now it's in there again. Alright. Try to get it to stay there this time. See, I don't know if you can see this or not. That it's hard to see that drive wheel is in that little white sleeve. So that's right where it needs to be. So now all you do is put the front cover back on, which it goes on nicely. Make sure you got the long skinny screwdriver. Okay, don't forget to put your plate back on the bottom. Just snaps into place. Voila! Now your can opener should be good as new again. I say that because I have another one, and we had it about a year, worked fine. I thought it was junk, so I thought I'd try to fix it. Tighten that wheel up. Wife made several dishes Had to open several cans. It worked great with all of them. So that should get you back into shape. If it happens again, you know what to do. Just tighten up that little jam nut in the back. Get the wheels where they're touching. You should be back in business. So it doesn't take much, just a slight adjustment. 10 minutes, back in business before you throw them in the trash. Thanks for watching.